I appreciate the chance we have to get together. I don't know if there's anything or not we have that can help you, but I'll go through the areas that we work in, areas such as increasing cash flow, decreasing debt, and reducing taxes. We also specialize in life insurance and annuities and how they possibly can shave years off your potential retirement date. After that, if there's an interest on your part, we'll gather some information and we'll get back at another point and go through some specifics. There's nothing to buy today, so just sit back and relax. Federal Financial Group is a national company that represents several insurance companies and other financial institutions with billions of dollars in assets, some of which have been in business for over 100 years. What we do is teach people about money, how it works, and how to make it work better for you. Specifically, our goal is one thing: to help people become financially independent. What that means is that the interest you're earning on the money you put away replaces what you normally would earn from a business or a salary. At this point, you wouldn't have to work anymore. You may choose to, but you don't have to. That's financial independence. Would you like to know how to get there the soonest? That's where I'm headed. Now, what I want to do is touch on some of the issues and challenges that face us today and then talk about the solutions. First off, look at the last 10 years. Incomes have risen, yes, but living expenses have gone up and up. For many Americans, there's no real way that incomes have kept up with housing or a lot of things. So what happens is people tend to get into debt, lack of security sets in, poor saving habits ensue, and that creates some real problems. Now, here's my point. Out of 100 people turning 65 today, only 7 are financially secure with incomes of $35,000 or more. Only 7. The other 93 are not. Now, what is their situation? Well, many rely on family, many rely on charity, and this is perhaps a majority of them, they are still working. For example, look at all the seniors working at Walmart today. Like the other day, it was amazing. I was at Wendy's, and you know how they have at times older people working there. It was about 2 in the afternoon, and I was eating a chicken sandwich, and there was an older lady working there. I mean, she was big time old, like 78 years old. And she was down on one knee scraping gum off the floor. Now, that's not her hobby. She's out of money. See, there's a problem, and it's getting worse because we're living longer. I guarantee that when she was our age, she wasn't thinking that she'd be doing that at her age. Now, here are the solutions. What we do is we work in key areas involving 7 steps to help build your financial future. We weave these steps together to help people increase cash flow, get out of debt, and reduce taxes and retire as soon as possible if desired. The goal here is to obtain financial independence much quicker. So what I'm going to do is rip through these real quick. Stop me if you have a question, but keep in mind the specific areas that you have the biggest need in or biggest priority, and we can develop a strategy later on. Step 1 is to inspect what you expect. In order to have more money later on for your future goals and dreams, you need to know where you're spending your money now. Part of understanding how money works and how to make it work better for you is knowing where it goes. We will introduce you to a tool where you can track your earnings and expenditures so you can inspect what you expect. The goal here is to free up extra money you didn't know you had. This extra cash can be used to pay off debt or apply it towards future dreams to possibly shave years off your retirement date. Step 2 is increasing your cash flow. Now, Kashara, how would you define cash flow? Great. That's a good definition. Let's also define cash flow like this. Monthly cash flow is what's left over at the end of the month after all money comes in and all expenses and bills go out. We work with firms that specialize in improving your cash flow by reducing the cost of servicing your debt. For example, let me ask you another question. At the end of the year, are you receiving a tax refund or do you owe taxes? Now that's interesting you say that, because a recent client of ours said that he usually gets around $2,500 to $3,000 back each year. And we said, so what you're telling me is that you're paying the government to keep your money for a little over a year and then allowing them to give it back to you with 0% interest. He said, yeah, that makes no sense. And you know what? It doesn't. There are ways to take that money as it's being earned and put it back into your budget to earn more money for you instead of the government. What we want to do here is help people eliminate debt. We use two plans to help people eliminate debt. So plan A, the debt eliminator. Okay, here's an actual client. You see they have a 30-year mortgage for $144,000, a car loan for $39,000, a credit card for $10,000, and a store credit card for $1,200. If they paid everything according to their current plan, they'll be out of debt in 26.8 years. By following the debt eliminator plan, they'll be out of debt in 13.1 years. They have the same debt, make the same total monthly payment, and there's no refinancing involved, but they're debt-free in 13.1 years, including their mortgage. If they continue making the same payments, but now make it to themselves, instead of just being out of debt in 26.8 years, they'll be out of debt and possibly have up to $500,000 in savings for retirement. Now, if you like, in a little bit, I'd be happy to gather some information, and when we get back, I'll bring back your own personalized debt eliminator plan specifically designed for you. Now, Kashera, if we can help you get out of debt years sooner than you otherwise would have, would that interest you? Okay, great. Now, one thing I want you to note here is that the illustrated rate of 8% is hypothetical and not based on any actual investment or specific product. It does not reflect the risk, expenses, or charges connected with any particular investment, but is provided for illustrative purposes only. So just want to make sure that you understand that. Now, Plan B, if necessary, involves your mortgage. Do you have a mortgage? How much do you owe? What is your home worth? What is your interest rate? What is your payment? Does that include taxes and insurance? What's your FICO score? All right. Okay, well, so Plan B, here's a debt structure of a typical family, okay? First mortgage, second mortgage, car loans, credit cards, totaling $206,000, okay? How long might it take this family to become debt-free? What they chose to do here is a debt consolidation loan. It allowed them to free up some additional cash to build up their emergency fund and pay down debt sooner. In their situation, it allowed them to increase their tax deductions on interest they're paying. You can see that their new monthly payment is $11.92. Their old monthly payment was $19.37. A monthly savings of $745, or an $8,940 annual savings. Now the question for them was, do we do a 15-year or a 30-year mortgage? Okay, let's look at the time and value of money. If they did a 15-year mortgage, your payment would be $17.16 a month for 15 years. Okay, then once out of debt, putting that same $17.16 away each month into savings, they can possibly have up to $593,801. If they did a 30-year mortgage, their monthly payment would be $11.92, a difference of $524. If they put that into savings each month, in 30 years, they can possibly have up to $780,948. A difference of $187,000. Wow. So basically, in step 3, we help people get to tools where they can manage their debt, to eliminate it sooner, and not have their debt manage them. Step 4 is a biggie as well, creating an emergency fund. What I find is most people don't have one. When an emergency comes up, out comes the plastic. That $1,800 new transmission, 3 to 4 years later, becomes a $3,000 to $4,000 transmission. See, that's what's hurting people. Now, a sound emergency fund has 4 factors. 1, it's got to be safe. 2, liquid. 3, get a rate of return better than a checking account. And then 4, separate and systematic. Here's a point. Have you ever tried to build an emergency fund in a checking account? Never happens. It's fair game. It'll get spent. Here's the point. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So what we encourage is a separate account, such as a money market account where you can have it drafted, say $50 a month from your checking right into your money market on the same day every month. So it's out of sight, out of mind, growing at a better rate of return, and when stuff happens, you have the money. It not only keeps your credit card balances at 0, it also prevents you from dipping into your retirement savings, avoiding that 10% tax penalty. It's simple, it's powerful, and it works. Now, step 5 is utilizing life insurance to provide proper protection against loss of life, which leads to loss of income. Now, you know it's pretty devastating. Where mom and dad have 3 kids, and then dad is suddenly gone. Something happened. It's devastating. And once dad is gone, so is his income. Have you seen that happen before? Now, who's going to pay the house payment, food, and light bill? That's what's devastating, right? Now, part of a good financial plan is proper insurance to replace income. It also sets up an immediate estate. Okay? Here we do things a little bit different. We look at a person's financial needs and bring back options that save people money while increasing their cash flow, helping them to get set up with the proper amount of life insurance. Step 6 is the biggest one. If you'll listen to me, this could change the quality of your life. Okay? This is the one everyone likes the best. Step 6 is building a long-term income or long-term savings. Now, there are 2 elements at play here. 2 financial battles you have to win in order to win the money game. Because if you don't incorporate these, now, can I be strong with you? The chances of you becoming financially independent probably won't happen. And if it does, it's way out there. So here are the 2 battles you have to win. The inflation battle, you'll see one in a minute, and a tax battle, because it's not what you make, it's what you keep, and taxes will hurt you if you're not careful. Let's talk about inflation first. Have you heard of the rule of 72? Now let me explain. It's really interesting. Whatever interest rate you're saving at, say 4%, divide that into the number 72, and that will tell you how many years it will take for your money to double. So 4 to 72 is 18. So every 18 years, your money will double. Here's an example. Let's say you have $100 in an account that earns 4%. If you leave it and it just grows at 4%, in 18 years, it'll double to $200. Okay? Now what happens in another 18 years at 4%? Right, it doubles again to $400. Okay? Here's the problem. In 36 years, okay, see these 2, 18, 18, and 36. In 36 years, will $400 buy what $100 buys now? That's inflation. Because sure, people are saving. Where are they saving? Banks, credit unions, fixed accounts, where they're probably not even getting 4%. You see what's happening? Money is growing, but inflation is growing much quicker. They are losing purchasing power and may never retire. A big, big problem. The solution is to help them find a potentially better interest rate. Let's say a person could get 6 to 12%. Look at this example. Let's assume you are 29 years old and have $10,000 at 4%. So 4 and 72 is 18. So that $10,000 in 36 years grows to $40,000. You're 65. The kids are gone. The house is paid for, and you want to retire. But you have $40,000 to your name. How long is that going to last you? The way you spend, probably half that time. Just kidding. Maybe a year, maybe a little longer. If you're really frugal, then you're out of money and you're a greeter at Walmart. But here's the problem. We've run out of time. Who wants to work past 65? The only thing you could have changed is the interest rate. So here's a $1 million question. What if you could have had 6 to 12% instead of 4%? Would you now have greater financial independence? The answer is yes. Look at this. At 6%, your money doubles every 12 years. At 8%, it doubles every 9 years. And at 12%, it doubles every 6 years. So in 36 years, at the age of 65, you've got $640,000. That's amazing. And the only difference between this guy and this guy is the interest rate. Not more money or more time. Same age, same amount of money. The only difference is the interest rate. But it costs this guy $600,000. Now, Kashera, isn't that a pretty important principle for you to learn? This could change the quality of your life. And you know what? It's not about having $10,000. The key is saving a little bit on a monthly basis at a decent interest rate. If you'll save for you at a decent interest rate, there'll be a time where you're not out earning your money, but your money is out earning you. Wouldn't that be pretty awesome? So here's a $1 million question. Where can I get a decent rate of return, but yet have a protection of principal where I'm actually guaranteed not to lose any money? Actually, there are 3 different strategies. I'll give you a synopsis of each one and you tell me which one makes the most sense to you so I know what is suitable for you when we get back together. First, in the fixed rate approach, you get a guaranteed fixed rate. But it's a low rate, approximately 2 to 3%, maybe less, which may be risky because of inflation. The second approach is on the other end of the spectrum, the stock market or mutual funds, where you have the potential for high returns, but with a greater risk of losing your money. And a lot of people have, because it's been pretty dicey lately. The third way is the index strategy, where all the principal you save is protected, all the interest earned is also protected so you don't lose any money, all the interest earned is linked to what the S&P 500 stock index does, which in the past 25 years has averaged almost 10% a year. Now, I want to make note of this, that past performance is no guarantee of future performance, okay? But anyway, but of those 3, which makes the most sense to you? The index strategy, you know, that's a very popular strategy. Let's talk about it for a minute. You've heard of the S&P 500 index, right? The S&P 500 stock index is the 500 most widely held companies in the U.S., representing over 100 industry groups, such as technologies, healthcare, utilities, etc. In fact, S&P 500 represents almost 70% of the total domestic equity market capitalization, about 70% of the American economy. But get this, the S&P 500 has averaged almost 10% a year for the past 25 years. Now, if you had invested in the S&P 500 25 years ago and averaged almost 10% a year, you'd be happy, right? Now, when we get back together, if we have determined that the index strategy is suitable for you, I'll then explain the specific products, floors, caps, and other terms and conditions. But for now, let me give you an overview of the index strategy and how interest crediting works. All interest earned is linked to the S&P 500 up to a cap, for example, 12%, without any of the downside risk associated with putting money directly into the stock market. So you can see your money's protected from any market loss. At the same time, you participate in the growth of the S&P 500 up to a cap, for example, 12%, with protection from any downside market risk. That's pretty important, don't you think? Okay, here's an example. Let's say a few years back, you contributed $10,000 into the index strategy. Okay? And let's say that the S&P 500 did 10% that first year. And now your money has grown to $11,000. And let's say that in the second year, it did another 10%. And now you have 12,100. In the third year, the S&P 500 loses 20%. Is that possible? Absolutely. In fact, it happened. But instead of your account value dropping 20% to 9,600, in year 3, it remains at 12,100. So you can see why the index approach is quickly becoming one of the most popular strategies. Okay, one of the best ways to win the rate of return and inflation battle is to be able to get potentially higher growth, yet protect your principal against any downside market loss. But Kashera, you just can't win the rate of return battle and forget about taxes. In fact, I'm going to show you an example that will shock you in how important it is to employ both the rate of return battle and the tax battle. Let's say 30 years ago, there was a guy that was 30 years of age, and he wanted to have $1 million when he was 60, but he didn't understand any of this. So he just goes to the bank and says, Mr. Banker, what do I need to save every month for 30 years so I can have $1 million? Back then, CD rates were at 5%. Now they're at 2, 3, but then they're at 5. Well, the banker figured it out and said, what you need to do is put away exactly $16.39 a month for 30 years at 5%, and you'll get your $1 million. Well, the guy was totally discouraged, left the bank, and never saved a dime. He's now a greeter at Walmart. We've seen him, right? But what if we could have taught him how to win these two battles? The rate of return battle and the tax battle. Look at how it drops that number. It's almost unbelievable. Okay? Let's win one at a time, the rate of return. Let's say you could have averaged 10% instead of 5%. It takes that number clear down to $900 a month. However, Kashera, can most people save $900 a month? Probably not, but it's $700 less than that guy. That's significant, right? Now, what if we help him put his money away where it can't be taxed while it grows? So with tax deferral, what does he have to put away? Look at that, $438 a month. Now, Kashera, do you know people who can put away $438 a month? Yeah, a lot of people. Maybe you can do it. Hey, you're blowing that, right? See, to a lot of people, that's not a big deal. See, it's not so much about putting away a ton. It's about putting away what you can at a decent interest rate, reducing taxes, and avoiding loss of principal. Okay? In fact, in step 6, when we are done, a person knows how and when they will potentially be totally financially independent. And if we do it right, we can literally shave years off that retirement date. It's really neat. Kashera, let me ask you this. If you were financially independent right now, and you have enough in your nest egg so that every month you had enough that you didn't have to go to work anymore, what would you and your wife be doing? Oh, sorry. What would you and your husband be doing? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What would you be doing? That's great. Now think about it. If you are financially independent, you have options, and that's the point. You can do what you want, when you want, how you want. In fact, it was interesting. The other day we went through the implementation phase with a client. That's our second visit. And the wife was so excited. She gets up and says, you know what? I could go door to door asking my neighbors when they were going to be financially independent. You know, nobody would know, but I do. You know what? At that time, she and her husband became one because they knew what their dreams were, when it was going to happen. So it's really exciting. That's step 6. The last step is estate planning. The last step is estate planning. Okay, so a lot of times that means using a trust so upon death you can leave a legacy instead of headaches and possible tax burdens for your survivors. It's how a trust helps you avoid probate and protect against liabilities. Also, the importance of having a will, living will, power of attorney, that type of thing. Okay, do you remember a while back the story about Terri Schiavo? You know, it was a lady who became incapacitated and had the whole world arguing about what should happen to her. Do you remember that? Okay, all right. So now, imagine how different it would have been for her and her family if she had only had a simple living will. Are you concerned about who will make medical, legal, and financial decisions for you if you are unable to? Are you concerned with who will receive your assets when you pass away? Are you interested in updating or creating a will or trust? Okay, let me ask you. Do you already have an attorney or other advisor you work with on estate planning issues? No? Well, we recommend that you engage an attorney who specializes in estate planning. You also have the alternative to use a company that isn't a law firm but prepares the documentation for simple estate plans. I can give you some companies that can prepare simple estate plan documentation for you if you're interested. Okay? Great. So that's step 7. So those are the 7 steps. Kind of neat, aren't they? Now let me ask you, Kashara, a very important question. Of these 7 steps, if you had to narrow it down to 2 that are the biggest priority in your life between increasing cash flow, eliminating debt, developing an emergency fund, life insurance, protection, building long-term financial independence, and tax planning, which is critical, and estate planning, if you could only pick 2, which 2 would they be? Good choices, okay? Now let me ask you what we do. Now let me tell you what we do. We do what's called a financial needs analysis so that we can make sure the products we offer are suitable for you. Where in a second I'll ask you a few questions to help determine what your needs are and what your goals and dreams are. Then I'll take this back to the office where we have a very sophisticated software program where we'll input your information and it will help us develop a plan of attack specific around your needs and help you to become one thing: financially independent the soonest. So it's awesome. Now let me tell you the cost of this. When I come back, what I will expect is hot chocolate chip cookies, fresh out of the oven, which you personally baked, in a tall cup of milk. Just kidding. You're too serious. Okay, I had to throw that out there. So no, let me explain how we really get paid. So you'll know. Okay, the companies that you choose to link up with and help you with your specific goals pay us a referral fee or a commission. So you won't be billed for services rendered by us. So it's a win-win scenario. However, the information that I bring back to you will only be as accurate as the information that we put in. So work with me here because we're talking about your financial future. And if we do this right, we can potentially shave years off your retirement date. Now, the first 3 or 4 questions are yes or no answers. I can't have maybe. This will help me with your short and midterm goals and where you're headed. Okay? So we're going to fill out a financial needs analysis here. Okay? So the first question is, in the next 3 years, do you plan on making a major purchase? Okay? All right, we are done with the financial needs analysis. Okay? Man, Kashara, this is going to be awesome. Okay, because when we get back together in a day or two, Kashara, you've got $400 we can work with. Man. So when we get back together, we're going to have a crystal clear picture of how and when you can potentially be totally financially independent. Fulfilling your dreams and goals, you're going to love it. Okay? But you are going to need to listen. And I'm going to spend some time on this because I know you're serious, so I'm going to be serious. Alright? It's going to be awesome. Alright? Kashara, this is going to change the quality of your life. And you're going to owe me big. Okay? Now, it's very important that we build upon what we've talked about today. So we need to set up a time within the next 24 to 48 hours. But if we have to go clear into next week, I'll have to recapitulate everything we have just covered. So we need to get back together as soon as we can because we're talking about your life here. So with that in mind, what's your schedule like tomorrow? Okay, I have a 10 a.m. or a 3 p.m. open. Which would you prefer? A 10 a.m.? Alright, that works for me. So you're an early riser just like I am. Okay, great. Okay, so before I leave, let me ask you a couple of very important questions. When I come back and I can show you a plan that meets your needs in every way that you're totally comfortable with, is there any reason why we couldn't do business? Great. Okay? Here's the second question and last question for today. And after we do business, is there any reason that you wouldn't feel comfortable providing the names of 3 or 4 people that you feel could really benefit from my services in the same way that I'm going to help you? Great. Okay? So I will see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.